Authentic emotional engagement strategies. In an era where information overload drowns out meaningful connection, emotional engagement has become a vital force in driving social change. For activists and advocates, understanding how to harness human emotions effectively can transform passive observers into passionate allies. The power of emotion lies not only in its ability to inspire but also in its capacity to create lasting behavioral shifts when applied strategically within activist movements. This guide explores proven techniques for cultivating authentic emotional connections that fuel impactful advocacy efforts across various causes. The neuroscience behind empathy activation. Our brains are wired to respond deeply to emotionally charged experiences through complex neural pathways involving mirror neurons and limbic systems. These biological mechanisms form the foundation for empathy and moral reasoning essential to collective action. Research shows that when individuals witness others suffering, their brain activity mirrors what they observe, creating powerful cognitive bridges between people. This phenomenon enables us to understand others' perspectives as if we were experiencing them firsthand. A study published in Nature Neuroscience revealed that observing someone else's pain activates similar regions in our own brain as if we were feeling it ourselves. This neurological mirroring creates immediate emotional resonance crucial for mobilizing support around shared issues. Mirror neuron activation enables vicarious experience of others' emotions during storytelling sessions at protests or rallies. Limbic system response creates visceral reactions to visual media depicting injustice that translate into real-world actions. This biological basis means that well-crafted narratives can trigger identical emotional responses in audiences regardless of personal background. Activists must leverage these innate capabilities rather than relying solely on logical arguments. Understanding how different types of emotional stimuli activate distinct neural pathways allows organizers to tailor messages more precisely. Fear-based appeals may be effective in some contexts, while hope-oriented messaging might work better for long-term campaigns. Crafting emotionally resonant narrative stories have always been humanity's most potent tool for conveying truth and inspiring action. In modern activism, narrative construction becomes an art form requiring careful attention to emotional triggers and cultural nuances. An effective story structure follows three key phases: establishing relatability, presenting conflict, and offering resolution. The first phase connects listeners to characters they recognize, making subsequent revelations more impactful. Detailed character development is crucial for creating emotional investment. Providing names, backgrounds, and personal challenges makes abstract issues feel tangible and urgent. When audiences see themselves reflected in a story, they're more likely to take action. Strategic use of sensory language enhances immersion by activating multiple senses simultaneously. Describing textures, sounds, and scents related to the issue helps build stronger emotional associations that linger after initial exposure. Variety in storytelling formats keeps engagement levels high. Combining written accounts with audio recordings, video testimonials, and live performances caters to diverse learning styles and increases overall impact. The role of vulnerability in authentic connection. Emotional transparency builds trust and fosters genuine relationships between activists and communities affected by systemic issues. Sharing personal stories of struggle and triumph creates space for mutual understanding and collaboration. Vulnerability requires courage, especially when discussing painful experiences associated with oppression or marginalization. However, this openness often leads to deeper community bonds and increased participation in movement-building activities. When leaders openly acknowledge their limitations and uncertainties, followers perceive greater authenticity. This honesty dismantles hierarchies and encourages horizontal leadership structures that empower grassroots voices. Public displays of vulnerability need thoughtful execution to avoid unintended consequences. Carefully selecting which aspects of one's journey to share ensures both protection and effectiveness in building communal solidarity. Harnessing collective trauma for social change. Societal traumas leave indelible marks on communities, shaping values, beliefs, and behaviors passed down through generations. Recognizing and addressing these inherited wounds is critical for sustainable progress toward justice. Trauma-informed approaches prioritize safety, empowerment, and healing over punishment or blame. By acknowledging historical injustices without re-traumatizing individuals, activists can create environments conducive to reconciliation and transformation. Creating spaces for intergenerational dialogue allows trauma survivors and descendants to share experiences safely. These conversations reveal patterns of resilience and adaptation that inform current strategies for resistance and renewal. Artistic expressions such as music, dance, and theater provide therapeutic outlets for processing collective memory. These creative forms allow communities to reclaim agency from oppressive forces that sought to silence them. Educational programs focused on restorative practices help heal generational divides caused by systemic violence. Teaching skills like active listening and nonviolent communication promotes healthier interactions among conflicting groups. Bridging divides through shared human experience despite ideological differences, all humans share fundamental desires for security, belonging, and purpose. Identifying common ground provides opportunities for cross-movement collaboration that strengthens broader progressive networks. Focusing on universal themes like family, fairness, and freedom allows activists to find points of convergence even amidst political disagreements. Highlighting these shared values creates openings for productive dialogue across spectrums. Joint initiatives tackling overlapping issues demonstrate the benefits of coalition building. Collaborative projects address root problems from multiple angles, increasing chances of successful implementation. Storytelling traditions from marginalized communities offer rich resources for fostering inclusion. Incorporating these narratives into mainstream discourse expands understanding and counters dominant paradigms. Cross-cultural exchanges facilitated by digital platforms enable global participation in local struggles. Virtual town halls and transnational webinars connect disparate movements under shared principles of justice and equity. The ethics of emotional manipulation. While emotional engagement is essential, ethical boundaries must be maintained to prevent exploitation or manipulation of vulnerable populations. Distinguishing between inspiration and coercion is crucial for responsible activism. Manipulative tactics often rely on fear-mongering or manufactured urgency to drive quick results. While these methods may produce temporary gains, they risk alienating supporters who feel misled or pressured. Ethical engagement prioritizes informed consent, ensuring participants understand campaign objectives before committing time or resources. Transparent communication prevents misunderstandings that could damage credibility. Respecting autonomy means allowing individuals to make choices based on their own values rather than imposing external expectations. Supportive guidance replaces directive commands in effective organizing models. Ongoing evaluation of outreach strategies helps identify any unintentional harm arising from emotional appeals. Regular feedback loops ensure continued alignment with core ethical commitments. Cultivating sustained emotional investment. Maintaining long-term commitment requires intentional cultivation of emotional investment beyond initial excitement. Strategic planning and consistent reinforcement sustain momentum throughout extended campaigns. Rituals and symbolic acts create memorable touchpoints that reinforce movement identity. From weekly vigils to annual commemorations, these recurring events maintain visibility and relevance. Personalized recognition acknowledges individual contributions, reinforcing each person's value to the collective effort. Simple gestures like thank you notes or public shoutouts boost morale and retention rates. Regular updates showing measurable outcomes provide tangible evidence of progress. Celebrating small victories maintains optimism while keeping larger goals in sight. Building supportive peer networks reduces burnout risks by providing safe spaces for sharing experiences and receiving encouragement. Mentorship programs facilitate knowledge transfer and relationship development. Measuring impact beyond metrics. Evaluating success in emotional engagement demands looking beyond quantitative measures like attendance numbers or fundraising totals. Qualitative indicators reflect the depth of connection achieved through compassionate outreach. Surveys assessing changes in attitudes and values provide insight into shifting perceptions resulting from sustained engagement efforts. Open-ended questions allow respondents to express nuanced transformations. Observing spontaneous acts of kindness or volunteerism indicates internalized motivation rather than externally imposed compliance. These organic responses signify true conversion rather than mere participation. Tracking the emergence of new subgroups formed around shared interests demonstrates growing network density. This expansion suggests successful integration of previously disconnected individuals. Monitoring longitudinal data reveals whether emotional engagement produces enduring behavioral changes rather than fleeting enthusiasm. Comparisons across time periods show trajectory of influence. Conclusion: effective emotional engagement transforms potential allies into committed changemakers by tapping into our deepest human capacities for connection and compassion. Understanding neuroscience foundations, crafting compelling narratives, embracing vulnerability, and maintaining ethical integrity form the pillars of impactful activism. To cultivate lasting change, activists must consistently apply these strategies with intentionality and care. By nurturing authentic emotional connections grounded in mutual respect and shared values, we can build resilient movements capable of transforming society for the better.